14-hour drive. Looked like absolute garbage on stage. Everybody's got to go through that where you have a horrible performance. I think I got fifth in the middleweight. The great thing was Paul, who has never competed in his life, got on stage first time ever. It was the INBF Delbert Hickman show. Great show, well ran. They did an awesome job. But Paul, first time ever on stage, 45 minutes. I felt so bad for him. I was glad we killed his posing. I think he ended up getting third maybe in the novice out of like 12 guys, and he was outsized. The closest guy had him by 30 pounds, I would say. So it was just awesome. I was super happy for him. He also placed well in the other class he was in. Took home some hardware in both. So I got back, and of course, I was too fat, but in my eyes, it was Lane's fault, it was pretty stupid of me at that time. There's so many things I didn't know. So then I had Bloomington, Minnesota the next week. So I went back, I carb depleted hard, loaded back up, tried to be my best for Minnesota. Had all my family there. I knew there was going to be a super tough show. It was probably the best amateur natural class I've ever seen in my life. We had, just for example, Ty Din won his pro card there, won our class. Another guy got second that looked great. Forgive me, I can't remember his name. Jason Bozak got third, and then I came in fourth. And another friend of mine, Max Sawochka, who's competing this weekend, actually came in fifth. And Max is just a monster. There's good things coming from him here in the near future too. Anyway, after that, I couldn't sleep that night. Ate a little bit of food, barely pigged out, and called Lane. I think, sorry Lane again. I think I called Lane at like 7 in the morning, and we talked for a long time. And he said, "Hell, man, you're in shape. If you're ready to go, let's do this. Let's get a pro card." So I kept it tight all summer, and then went after and attacked the NANBF KC Golds Classic run by Fred and Jan Rowlett. They run a great show. I had an absolute ball. And that was Lane's heavyweight debut, so I got to hang out with them again and watch Lane do his thing, and he ended up winning the heavyweights and looked great. So it was cool regardless. It was a big show. I was going against somebody that I'd become friends with over the few months leading into that. Kid named Nick Boswell. Kid, I guess he's a few years younger than me, but we became friends and we competed in the same class. I ended up winning my class. I think again there was like 10 or 11. It was tough. I had no idea where I was at. Everyone's saying, "Oh, you got your class, and I'm like, I've been at enough of these shows. You got nothing to tell. They call your name. So I feel privileged and honored and lucky. Won my class. Again, got in the overall. Got second place in the overall again. I was kind of thought I had it. I thought I had posing. I'd worked really hard with Jeff Alberts at the time, and Jeff has just made my posing into what I never thought possible. I mean, I've learned so much. I feel so blessed to know Jeff and to consider Jeff a friend of mine. So shout out to Jeff Alberts. I appreciate it, man. I owe you big. I know I sent you a lot of emails. I'm an emailing madman. Anybody that works with me in any of my businesses know that I'm an email sniper. So I do apologize for that. And, if you're that way, hey, we'll get along great. So anyway, I narrowly missed my pro card. Didn't know what I was going to do again. Came out of that show fairly clean with my diet. Put on a little bit of weight. I think I got up to, I hovered around 200, maybe 205. I didn't go too crazy. I'd walk on stage at like 172. Still could have been leaner. I mean, that's the story of my life. I got to just get leaner. I got to come in leaner. So I decided I kind of had my eye on a show, and I knew that with my other job and with everything, I could just keep it as tight as I could. We work with a lot in the beverage industry, so it's pretty tough to stay away from the thing I love, which is a little bit of nice cold beer, adult beverages. But try not to overindulge too much and just keep it as tight as I could. My eyes were on the Northern States Natural Classic. I knew in August, if I was in the mid 190s that if I worked my ass off, I could do some damage up there. I just kind of felt it, and I'd put on some good size, and my back had come up a ton. Obviously, my back still's come up a ton more, and my legs. You can never have too big a back or too big of legs, or be in too good a shape. So I decided, nothing against Lane. I love the guy, but I wanted to learn some more. I just decided that it was time to work with a a guy that I'd followed and been friends with for, I don't know, better part of 10 years, Alberto Nunez. We kind of started on bodybuilding.com at the same time, and, we'd kind of had the same journey. He'd ballooned up to a monster. I'd ballooned up to a monster. We both thought we were huge, didn't realize how fat we actually were. So we went back and forth on that pretty good a few times. So I, of course, made it tough for Alberto because I was too fat. So I had to bust my tail 6 low days a week, 1 refeed, going ape shit on cardio, and it was just absolutely killed myself. I mean, if I wouldn't have won that show, I probably I don't know if I could have continued. I had another show planned, but I was mentally just completely wiped out. Just couldn't sleep. Just killed myself. Anyway, I guess I let the cat out of the bag, but that's where I won my pro card. Went in, had a tough class. Actually, my class was just ridiculous up there. I had Nick Boswell, Braden Swole, his brother's an IFPA pro, Riley, and then Brian Graff, who was a pro in another organization at the time. So, of course, I'm looking around thinking, man, I'm going to come in. I can't even crack the top 5 here. I'm screwed. What the hell am I doing? So, anyway, lo and behold, I do want to give a shout out. Matt Jackson, April Jackson. Matt was a client of mine. I just kind of started doing contest prep when I started with Paul. I guess in beginning of 2010 is kind of where the journey started with that. But Matt kind of followed me. He was friends with Nick Boswell, so he hired me, and I was his contest prep coach. And he'd started prep, and then he just decided, life just wasn't the cards weren't set for him. Life had kind of turned him in a different direction at that time, and he was going to push it off. We'll get to Matt later, though. But Matt and April came up, helped me out. It's great to meet him. Matt just took care of me all day. I mean, I do really appreciate that. Speaking of helping out, too, a guy by the name of Arthur Flamer flew out from California to help me for that 2010 show. He's a good friend of mine. I just want to throw that out there. Really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Things like that you never forget. You never forget the people that you've met in this sport along the way. Some of my best friends ever have been through this. Just kind of you share a common bond, and the things you've been through nobody else can understand except the guys that actually and girls that have been through it. So anyway, Matt and April came and helped me out, and I ended up winning my middle or the medium class. Brian Graff's an IFPA pro now. He won the USA show last year. Nick Boswell's his conditioning is just unbelievable. He's a top competitor. I mean, great guy. Braden's a great guy too. There's 2 more guys that'll have their pro card when they step on stage in the near future. If wouldn't shock me at all to see it in the next couple of years. Got in the overall, and I was going up against the short guy, Jim Seam. He's an awesome guy. He's a Masters pro. And sorry, I can't remember the individual in the tall class. He looked great as well. But I was fortunate enough to win the overall. They were giving 2 cards out, so I actually felt pretty good going in that I had one of them. I wasn't sure. Jim really worried me. The dude is just in phenomenal shape. Just phenomenal shape. Has great symmetry, great balance. Looks solid. But luckily, I pulled it off, and I turned pro, and I kind of set out the journey I'm on now. My prep business picked up a ton from there, and then wife and I decided to do a little clothing and get our website going, and it just kind of took off from there. And we've had clients kind of competing all over the map and all over the area, country here lately. I guess I'll kind of talk about a few of those and, give a little shout out to them, a little love to them, and I'll wrap this up since I've been blabbing for 20 minutes already. Right now we have Brian Maurer. He took second in his class in Liberty, which is a huge show. Terry Starks won his pro card there. A lot of people had him first. He came in second, but like I said, you just never know. Brian has a little bit of work to do. He's just got to maybe bring up his legs. He needs a little more thickness. Just great conditioning. Some of the best glutes I've ever seen in my life, and his back is great. Anyway, look for him in 2014. He's gonna do some damage. Matt Jackson, guy has a ton of potential. Monster. He's got the same problem I got though. Don't get too fat, meat, or I'm gonna have to come out and slap you. He started his diet at 229 after he was 204. So 229, November 26th, 181 on stage Saturday. So his legs needed to come in a little bit better, but I worked his tail off. He did everything I asked him, and he ate carbs. Not all the time, but he did eat carbs. he ended up getting